They first met together and they exchanged coats. So I would take off my cloak or coat, give it to my covenant partner, and he would take his off. He isn't wearing one today, I am, but I'm going to take this off quickly to demonstrate this. So I would take mine off and I would cover him. So this is an obvious sign of covering. He's covering me, I'm covering him. The second thing they did is to trade swords. So both of them, for protection, are wearing a weapon, a sword. So I take my sword belt off and I give mine to him, he gives his to me. And that is to say, I'll never hurt you. I have nothing to hurt you with. I've given you my weapon. I can't protect myself against you. That's why spousal abuse is absolutely so out there, because when you marry someone, you have surrendered your weapon to them. You don't have anything to hurt them with, nor do you have anything to defend yourself with. It's a relationship you shouldn't need to defend yourself. You're defending them, they're defending you. So after you trade swords, then we come to the third step, which is perhaps most important of all, and it's actually called by the Hebrews the Berith. Berith is the Hebrew word that means, it's strange in its interpretation, you have to explain it. Berith means, literally translated, to walk between bloodied flesh or sacrificed flesh. An animal that's been sacrificed. To walk between flesh is what Berith means. So the Berith, which is the third step of the 9, this is the way it happens. They bring a lamb, they sacrifice it, and here's how a Berith sacrifice is made. You've been to like a meat locker where they're selling steaks or whatever, and you've seen what they call a side of beef, where the animal has been split down the middle and half of it is hanging. That's the way a Berith sacrifice was made. They cut the animal down the middle and laid the two halves opposite each other with a space of a couple of feet between them. Now, we mutually participate in slaughtering this animal, butchering this animal, that will later be eaten as a ceremonial meal. But we lay the two halves on the ground with 2 or 3 feet between it, and then Stephen comes to look at his. We finish the sacrifice. I come to look at mine, and Stephen and I, as blood covenant partners making his covenant, are standing back to back. Note the position. So all I can see is this direction, and of course my eyes fall to here, his eyes fall to his feet, and I'm looking at the animal that has given its life for this relationship that we're about to consummate as lifelong. It cost this animal his life. So as I contemplate that, we start the Berith. Remember what Berith means? To walk between sacrificed flesh. So there's 2 halves. So we both take 1 step forward, which puts me and he standing right on the half of our sacrifice. Then we do this. He begins his trek that way. I begin mine this way. He comes around. I come around. Watch this. We both pass between the sacrifice and then walk around our covenant partner's half in a figure 8, coming back to the middle. Now his is back here, mine is there. We're standing between it, but do you see the obvious that has changed positionally? See, let me say this to you. You cannot conduct a covenant relationship effectively with the intimacy and the involvement and the benefits that are supposed and obvious back to back. I can't see you. I can't be close to you. I don't know what you're thinking. I can't look in your eyes. There are millions of people who conduct marriage this way. I want you close when I need you, but I don't want you looking at me. There are millions more that conduct their relationship with God this way. Look, I want to look at the world, God, but I want you close enough to grab if I need you, but I don't want any intimacy with you. But you see, when you walk between the sacrifice, do the figure 8, it brings you back face to face, and the obvious is you're ready for the next step. The next step is you cut your right hand, each grab hands, and there's a mixing of blood, and you look in one another's eyes, and then the fifth step is to set the terms of the covenant, which commonly terms would be made like, now incidentally, David and Jonathan, who was King Saul's son, were blood covenant brothers. So they set terms. Common terms would be, I'll protect you, I'll cover you, I'll fight for you, I'll never speak against you, and whatever is yours and whatever concerns you, I will protect. In the event you die in a battle or in an accident or prematurely, I'll cover your family. I'll raise your children. Those were the serious kind of terms made by blood covenants entered. And as blood mixed in their hand, they set the terms. Then they ate a covenant meal, often roasting the meat of the animal they'd sacrificed, and covenant meals always involved wine and bread, which is the epitomology, the beginnings of our communion meal. That's from covenant days. And then a ninth step, which was normally done, is they picked a sapling and named and planted a tree to their relationship somewhere in their yard that they could watch grow and flourish through the years. And no matter how many miles would separate them, that planted memorial tree would always remind them of that relationship that was made. And we as believers know that we have a planted memorial tree, don't we? We know there was a tree on the Golgotha hill that sealed our relationship with each other and with God. That's why our relationship with each other must be taken very seriously, because the same God that saved you by relationship saved me as your brother by relationship. We have the same Father, so we are blood kin. So those are the steps made in making an ancient covenant, and they are not, as I said, in every text always all listed, because there is much that can be assumed because that culture knew and understood that.